Hi everyone. Hi everyone. Welcome back to the channel called Engineering Beyond Blueprint. In the last segment, we talk about two products. One is called Career Intelligence Tracking and recommendation of what are the job roles are opened up in the current industry, right? And we have been talk about one more product line called Component Matchmaker, where many of the industry facing challenges on obsolescence resilience programs, which could enable to find the replacement solution along with all the different technical parameters in it. So follow on this, like today I've been covering two major updates. In that first one I would like to cover today. So it's a quite long time we have been discussed about project management roles and responsibilities. Today I will just walk through one of the scenario so that you will understand how the PMBOK 8th edition is looking forward as a project manager, right? So first thing today we have been covering project resilience in 2026, the hardware obsolescence playbook, right? So this is basically meant to transforming supply chain volatility into the strategic advantage using PMBOK 8th edition as a framework basically. So as you could see here, in reactive method, currently the industries are focusing towards and kind of managing all the obsolescence programs. So it's very much traditional approach, and it's kind of nowhere viable option going forward in industry, because every information should be kept in place and should be very much aligned to the design engineers or all the different stakeholders, including supply chain management, design engineers, PCB layout team, and engineering change management team, and more importantly in the manufacturing readiness also. So given that approach is very reactive and is really firefighting mode as when it comes for obsolescence management, and looking at the framework, right? So we want to change this entire framework into the PMBOK 8th edition model, which we call life cycles stewardship transition to the 8th edition framework. So here is what exactly we do, given the context of component matchmaker. Moment if you put any kind of component or bill of material details into it, what it does, it tells what is the life cycle status of the part number and what is mitigation strategy and what are the recommended solutions. So using that concept, addition to the PMBOK 8th edition, so you could see the proactive life cycle management as one of the feature got added into the component matchmaker. So this is holistically processed through integral solution and give the strategical scope of any product development or obsolescence management strategy, right? In the context, I would say this playbook is shifting the organizational mindset from reactive firefighting to the proactive lifecycle stewardship, utilizing AI-driven scrubbing, hybrid agile execution, and value-based governance. The silent killer of hardware program is basically plotted into the scatter diagram. So as you could see here, this is source of information pulled out from VUCA world, the 2026 landscape. Okay, this is pulled out from one of the JetBrains Monopoly. So from there we got this information as source of information. Actually, what we do, like in 2026, hardware program face unique VUCA challenges where the component die faster than the design cycle, right? So here is what we want to bring: the proactive UL failure identification as a chip dying in less than 3 years, in terms of supply chain, in terms of technical, in terms of financial, and so on and so forth. So we want to understand from this context is about what is the impact and what is the probabilities of impact, right? We are sizing the dots as you could see here, and this is include the financial and regulatory bans in the European region. So that is what you can see. So as I said, we are moving from firefighting to value delivery. So in the old way of task based is, if you see reactive and task based, output is focused towards the fix the part number or issue. And when it come for proactive and the PMBOK 8th way of principle based, so proactive and value focused on the product. and system focused, protect the architecture and system thinking. So that is where we want to say. So when I say system thinking, it's all looking around health of the product, basically in terms of obsolescence, in terms of supplier lead time issues, and so on and so forth. So as you could see, the process flow is adaptive holistic view to understand life cycle of view, not just by part view. As I said, it's product view, not just by part view. Focus on the values, so cost of redesign versus the LTV, right? I will cover more detail about this particular flow chart. And embedded quality, like what are the quality standards we need to maintain and approvals of the quality standards. So that is also we could see here. Then integrated sustainability in terms of ROS reach compliance, because as I mentioned, some of the European countries do not accept the some kind of chemical composition, which is supposed to be certified and approved by all the countries wherever we supply the end product. And empower the culture in the sense procurement flags risk early. So we should engage the vendors and suppliers well in advance through PCN to understand where exactly the obsolescence is getting through, because of business shutdown, because of inavailability of the raw material, because of some of the European countries exhausted or kind of not supporting to have those raw material composition in the product. Uh, so next, institutionalizing resilience, the sustenance council. So majorly we should work with majorly three teams. So one is engineering lead and procurement lead and quality compliance. So these are all falls under sustenance council of approvals. So this is mainly focused on the obsolescence management plans. So categorize the hardware by life cycle as an active, NRND or obsolete, and recommended solution and redesign requirement as needed. So here is what we call like BVV. BVV in the sense bomb vitality and index. So what it does basically, we have to keep the threshold of above 90%, making sure that the component availability for manufacturing readiness. So if there is a potential chance of redesign program, we have to make sure that there is an LTB window opportunities for given component getting obsoleted. So make sure that it meet the redesign call timelines and accordingly meet the bomb vitality index. So seeing the iceberg view before impact, the risk register. So we have to have this risk register in place in terms of understanding supplier when they are going for not recommend for new design, and what is the lead time issues, and what is the EU bans, in the sense European region bans on the regulatory in PFAS material. So these are the potential of risk register. This is how you should be risk register in the PMBOK 8th edition. So as a risk register ID, if you see the MCU ARM Cortex M4, which is getting obsoleted due to supply chain constraint as a risk category, trigger as an vendor suggest not recommend for new design. This is going to be high impact in less than 12 months if there is a timeline required, right? So as a mitigation strategy, trigger the tech refresh NPI every day to understand what is a product health and what are the critical components getting impacted in near future. And second register is like LDO regulator. So there is a lead time issues of this particular component or commodity. It's going to be medium in terms of volatility. Spot buy for 12 months safety stock. So because 12 months lead time may not be sufficient for the manufacturing readiness, keeping that in mind, whatever the associate to the cost, we have to place in advance as an order, looking at the lead time issue, and we have to secure the part number for production readiness. Third come as an example, high speed IO. High speed IO in the sense like the regulatory PFAS issue. So that is where the European, as I said, European has banned this regulatory compliance issues. It's going to be on high in the deadlines, because if there is no raw material, we can't use for European countries to ship the end product, right? So identify the ROS as an alternative solution when there is an chemical composition issues. So as you could see as an intra, PMBOK 8 inside risk is treated as uncertainty. Use this register to be identify the tech refresh opportunity. So what I mean to is, any risk is an creating an uncertainty. Uncertainty is nothing but an opportunity to refresh our product line. So here is what stopping dead on arrival design. So in the sense, when we do kind of PDR, preliminary design review, say, so you should have this gatekeeper as a process has to be put in place to understand BOM health checklist. So this is a checklist we should follow when we kind of doing the PDR review. So this is going to be kind of preliminary design review, help us to taking forward to the critical design review. So anything is got failed, we don't want to take it for, you know, critical design review. So that's going to be creating a failure, so we have to do all this assessment in the PDR phase itself. Next, as I mentioned like earlier, the buying time is a bridge of strategy. So in the sense, when you're planning to do a NPI project duration, right, as a redesign, so you should see like how much time it takes to complete the redesign and change the documentation part and get the sign off from the customer. So collectively it takes as an approximate 12 months. So this is going to be a danger zone for us to factory cut over deadlines. So in the sense, as a formula, when we do a LTB, so we have to make sure that as an LTB monthly burn rate into the project duration plus the safety stock as a 25%. So when we say safety stock, there is a certain sometime what happens, there is a failure of the component out of this lot and we have to go with another lot, and there could be a chances of demand ramp up in the production. So we should have this safety stock as a 25% approximately. So objective is LTB stock must be bridge the gap between until the NPI is validated. Next comes accelerating the redesign hybrid agile execution. So what we mean that as a milestone, as you could see here as a milestone, right? Purchase the vendor evaluation kit, take it for schematic freeze and PCB layout. In parallel, we take this as an action for sprint level when it's come for HL porting, like hardware layer basically. And sprint 2 is for logics and sprint 3 is for validation. So it has to go by hand in hand as a parallel action. So as you could see, the PCB layout is next and alpha build and regulatory testing. So this is go hand in hand. When there is a form issue, we should go with an agile and adaptive in the sprint model so that we know what it takes for us to fix this issue. So parallelizing the firmware code start on evaluation kit before the custom PCB is manufactured. So anything PCB is manufactured, before that we should have this sprint based do the testing on the firmware. So as I said, like the 20 weeks is sustenance NPI timeline. So phase 1 we do the impact assessment and the LTB. Phase 2 we looking forward the PCB design and alpha build, and phase 3 is firmware porting evaluation kit. As phase 1 and phase 2 is go hand in hand, and phase 4 is regulatory testing as an EMI EMC. All right. So here is what you see, critical warning, the hidden dependency book external EMC lab now 12 to 16 weeks is a lead time. So getting the lab time is very crucial. So keeping that in mind, we have to define the critical path well in advance. So technical resilience, designing for silicon, independency, SIAP 3.1 and SIAP 2.1 and swap test. So as you could see, there is a layer, hardware layer and the hardware abstraction layer and the application layer as a business logic. So the firmware developer use the APIs, example IO set status, never direct register calls. And as a swap test, code must be compiled on secondary chip architecture. And SOAP 2.1 is universal footprints, dual landing pads on the PCBs. As a frontline strategy, vendor management, if you see the strategy one is 10 to 15 years longevity of roadmaps, direct PCN feeds, and QBRs focus on node shrinks. And when it comes for standards, so 5 years roadmaps requires second source identification that could be help us to avoid the last minute obsolescence or NRND stages. So you should have the dual sourcing in place when it comes for bomb compile. As a tier 3 is tactical, Niche vendors and prohibited for core function without VP waiver. So when we say the VP waiver, we should have that kind of contractual agreement before they kind of show as an obsolescence immediately. So we should have that contractual sign off from the vendor before we kind of approved as a vendor for use those component in our products. The 48-hour rule, what we bring it to the leadership is the supply chain must trigger the bomb impact, analyze within 48 hours of the PCN recipient from the vendor or the supplier. So visibility and value, the Project Phoenix dashboard, I would call it as a Project Phoenix dashboard. So vital signs are like schedule, budget, and technical risk and supply chain. So any project go by schedule, cost, and one more is scope, right? So everything is put together in terms of bridge the clock and in terms of matrix. If you see the probabilities of impact, what is the potential cost and what is the mitigation plan in place, when it comes for risk mitigation, revenue of 2.4 million protected, in the sense like doing the LTB, how much we can avoid as an cost impact by the customer on the product. And philosophy is don't hide the red status is an invitation for executive support. So any red alerts if you could find, obviously we should bring it to the leadership attention. Not only as a problem statement, we have to go with a mitigation strategy when we bring it to the leadership attention. Of continuous process, still so far we saw how the project management will work, how do we can bring the risk register and mitigation strategy. So these are all we have to keep it as a lesson learned basically. So when you go with a similar kind of project, we should make use of this lesson learned, build as an API around or AI algorithms around to address the risk mitigation strategy well in advance as a proactive, right? So as you could see here in the screen, like mandatory HAL and tier 1 vendors, and execute and analyze the post-mortem and understand what is the gap and bring that in SOP model to document it and have this lesson learned used for upcoming projects. Overall, the context of this, when we addressing to the higher authority or PMO or the leadership team, we have to go with an addressing the stakeholder frictions in the sense what are the challenges that we faced and what is our response to it. So challenges one, if you see why have dead capital in LTV stock, the response is always like it is an insurance policy against 2 million per month line stoppage. So any component getting stuck and we not fulfill the customer orders, then it's going to be impact with the 2 millions of worth inventory. And we have to project it that yes, we had been proceeded with an LTV with a financial approval of 1 million. We have been saved around 2 million of worth customer orders. So that is how we should be kind of negotiate and give the mitigation strategy. The another challenge is why extra work for HAL abstraction, right? So the response is sustainability of throughput, avoid 6-month redesign later. So what do you mean, like on hardware layer part of it, if you see anything that we should anticipate in 6 months in advance, so that we can align with the redesign scope with the timeline. So challenges, third was we already checked PCNs. The response is moving forward, we should have the notification, we should have the sign off on the SOP document from the supplier and the vendors whomsoever buying, so that we can avoid the last minute PCN notification from vendors and suppliers. So overall, the context of resilience advantage, the summary, we are transiting from reactive firefighting to proactive life cycle stewardship, from cost center to strategic asset. And key takeaways, resilience has a premium, but failure is more expensive, right? The call to actions are approve the Sustainable Council charter and authorize the project finish pilot. So this is a give a summary of how do we can tackle, how do identify the risk well in advance, how do proactively we can manage by adopting the all PMBOK 8th edition focus areas and principles. That going to help a lot in the AI world in this year or upcoming years. So I hope this gonna be help a lot. Given that context, I hope this video has been help a lot. And who are aspirant to grow in the project management, this is my a very small advice is to follow through this kind of documentary or the video, which could help you a lot when it comes for risk mitigation strategy. Thank you so much for watching, and do like and subscribe the channel, and hope for lot many contents looking forward. And nevertheless, I'm going to start up my own freelancing company in a couple of months, so where I want to come with my landing page and talk about all the product lines again, so that it gives some more insights how we should be ready with an industry expectation, and how should we grow ourselves in the career life, and how should we can bring a lot of products in place so that it can ease up for any given corporate world to maintain the operational activities seamlessly. So thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.